Hello everyone, I'm your professor for Com 210 with the City University of New York, the School for Professional Studies. My name is Richard Shoemaker and I am talking to you from my home in metropolitan Washington, D.C. I've just arrived from France, so I'm a little bit jet lagged, but I do want to both introduce myself and say a few things about the course. The first thing that I want to communicate to you is my availability. And I know in an online class, sometimes people think that you're working with a program class with basically a robot with whom you have no personal contact. Well, our class is exactly the opposite. That is, I'm pretty much available all the time to discuss the course, to give you assistance, to give you feedback, pretty much whenever you want it. I am glad to give out my personal telephone number, 301-728-5175, and this is all over our classroom. And I urge you just to text me, and I'll write you in more detail about this so you get a better sense of why I'm so keen on the texting between the two of us. Because in general, that's the way we communicate most readily now. I have children, they're always texting me, I'm always looking, you see, I'm always looking at my phone, and it's the same for getting messages from you. If you are doing an assignment and you don't quite know what you're supposed to be doing, or you're confused about the instructions, or you simply want help on some part of it, I think rather than waiting, rather than feeling anxiety, rather than feeling blocked and frustrated, it's better just to text me, and I in general get right back to you. So I highly encourage you to do that. Okay, that's my first point. Second point is really very important, and it has to do with the expectations for a class like this. And the point that I want to make, the really strong point that I want to make orally to you now as the semester begins, is this class attempts to replicate real-world professional writing assignments and repeat and model the kind of work you will be doing as professional writers, the forms that you will be using, the expectations that you will be facing as professional writers. And there's a contrast to be made. And let me apologize. There's work going on outside my house, but once again, you live in New York, there's work going on all around you as well. But what I wanted to say is there's a sort of contrast between normal academic assignments and the kind of work we will be doing in this class. You will be writing reports and memos and many other things for me, but the model will be professional writing and not really typical academic writing. So the model of theoretical, quote-unquote, term paper is not the one we will be doing. We will, and I repeat, be doing the same kind of assignments that you will be given by your supervisor. And that's the model that we will be working from. In terms of my giving you assignments, I'll be more your supervisor than I will a normal traditional college teacher. Okay, this will make more sense to you once we get started and you start to do the assignments. And I'll be talking a lot about this because there's a real difference. Okay, so that's the second point. The third point is the whole arc or the trajectory of this class will be from very simple to really quite complex. The first assignments are really very simple. They're writing an email, writing a bad news memo, and things like that. Things that I know you can do easily and pretty well. And moving to much more complicated things, changes in your organization or institution, complex relationships with your coworkers and your supervisors is what we will be doing later on in the semester. However, let me say that often in teaching this class, students have a little bit of difficulty because they imagine themselves working only with the typical student-to-professor situation. Well, all the assignments in this class are organized around working with coworkers and clients and supervisors and their supervisors. So this will make the atmosphere of these assignments somewhat different, and I will be once again talking to you about this. The fourth and last point that I want to make, because I know these videos get tiresome to watch, the fourth point that I wanted to make is this one. The two things have made writing at work really different and have really changed writing at work over the last 10 or 12 years, I would say. And one of them is the use of technology. And this has accelerated the kinds of communication between clients and employees. It has accelerated the kind of communication between you and your coworkers. It's accelerated the relationships between you and your supervisor, and it's most certainly broken down the typical traditional hierarchy where in the distant past you would basically never be working with like a CEO or a vice president or your supervisor's supervisor or that person's supervisor. That happens all the time now. An impatient vice president or an ambitious vice president might really land a communication of some importance on in your computer and require you to respond to that. That happens all the time. This is a real change from in the past. That is the more fluid, flexible, supple hierarchy in most organizations, and you need to be prepared for that. And you need to see that as an advantage, not something you be afraid of or wary about. Once again, in many institutions, it happens all the time. The other factor is writing in the global context. And I know it's easy to say, well, I'm a beginning employee, or I'm a middle-level manager, or I'm a middle-level employee in a company, and I'm not going to be having too much contact with the wider world. Okay, I want to really today begin dispelling that idea, and this in two levels. First of all, that even though, yes, it might very well be that on a day-to-day basis, you don't have so much contact with New Delhi or Shanghai or Paris or Frankfurt, but you might easily have contact with people who grew up in those areas. And you know as well as I do that your coworkers today very likely were not born in the United States. And once again, I want everyone in this class to see this as a tremendous advantage and a tremendously interesting phenomenon. That it means that communication has changed. Okay, and by the same token, even though you're like here, use my situation. Yes, I work in Washington, and like from moment to moment, it's not that I see so many quote unquote global people. However, it happens all the time that I get email and that we have clients, that I have colleagues who are in Mumbai, that are in Frankfurt, or are in Berlin, or who are in Tokyo. I mean, it happens constantly. And it happens to all my staff as well. And this changes the communication. And quite frankly, I think it makes it a lot more interesting. I think they're really interesting. So basically, even if it might seem that your day-to-day work is pretty much U.S. specific. I would say that in most cases, this breaks down and opens up and essentially gives everyone working today the possibility to work on the world stage. And two things about this that I'll include. This is changing very rapidly over the next 4 or 5 years. These two aspects that I'm saying, that is to say that people that you're working with might not have been born, excuse me, in the United States, and secondly, that you might have clients all over the world, and you want to be ready for this challenge, and you want to be able to communicate effectively with it. Okay, so I'm going to close by saying something that once upon a time a class like this was sort of a rote learning class where you were sort of using learning models that were sort of set in stone. Okay, the exact opposite is the case for our class and in professional writing today. Things, that is to say, professional communication is very open today, it's very dynamic, it's very interesting, and it makes a class like this, which, once again, when I originally took this class as as a college or whatever, a sophomore or a junior, I mean, it's kind of a boring class, right? It was just learning things by rote and learning a process. However, today it's much more dynamic, it's much more thoughtful, it's much more, the atmosphere and the context are just really, really fascinating. So thus, to conclude, I'm looking forward to working with you between now and Christmas, basically, and sharing a really thoughtful, dynamic, and very useful class. At the end of the class, you will have an extremely effective toolbox and skill set of very, very important communication skills. So thank you very much for your attention. Sorry this got a little bit longer. Sorry about the noise outside. And the mantra that I want to finish with is, if you have questions, contact me. I'm a text message away and always happy to talk to you. Also, if there are problems that are a little more complicated, I can give you a call, okay? Or, basically you tell me I'm very happy to do that. And I enjoy talking with everyone on the phone, and I hope at some point in the course of the semester I will be able to talk to everyone. So thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy the end of your summer.